Lil Uzi Vert is back outside. Damn, I'm happy to say that, man. On one of his recent singles, Uzi raps, how they gonna say I'm irrelevant when I'm the reason these dudes is relevant? That's hard. Woo! That boy, him. Not him, I meant he's they, he's them. So I wanna be respectful, okay? Uzi, no smoke. But beyond the pronouns, isn't hip hop just so much better when Uzi's around? Also, isn't it obvious that Uzi has been a GOAT for the last decade within rap? Not a rhetorical question, it's legit. On the flip side, I think it's also fair to say that Uzi's music hasn't sounded as great as it's been in the past. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna break down why the chants from fans online saying they want the quote unquote old Uzi back isn't that ridiculous after all. By the way, guys, my name is Uche and I make videos like this every single week, or at least I'm planning to. So if you like what you see and you enjoy videos like this, hit that like button for me. If you want to see me grow and reach my extra high subscriber goals that I got around the corner, hit that subscribe button for your boy. Oh, and super shout out to everybody that helped me cross 1K. Y'all are the real MVPs. It does not go unnoticed. Thank y'all so much. Oh, and also don't forget, because I always do, follow me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, UCHAYVA. All right, now let's get into this. Okay. Let's talk about Samir Woods, better known as Lil Uzi Vert, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, AKA Uzi, AKA Lil Uzi, AKA Baby Pluto, AKA Renji, AKA Sasuke. Look, there might be a such thing as having way too many AKAs, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Uzi, yo, you gonna have to pick a couple of them, man. It's too many. I didn't even list off the full list of them, bro. He got too many AKAs. Goddamn. But anyway, look, at his peak, Uzi was a true innovator. He fused a lot of different styles. He was what I would call a fusion artist who kind of merged the energy of punk rock with the melody of trap in a way. And he contributed to an entirely new subgenre that captivated an entire SoundCloud generation of fans and artists. His magic wasn't just in his hits, but it was also in his delivery. That unmistakable, charismatic energy and ability to turn abstract emotions into addictive, melodic masterpieces was on full display on songs of his like EXO Tour Life and so many others that he has under his belt. But what happens when an artist known for trailblazing begins to sound lost? That's really like the key question I have for you guys in this video. And so we're gonna get into some of the reasons as to why fans are now starting to say we want the old Uzi and it don't sound the same. But before we get into any of that, y'all know we gotta talk about the highlights of Uzi's career because there have been way too many to freaking count. And with that, we gotta start with Uzi's breakout mixtape called Lil Uzi Vert versus the World, which released on April 15, 2016, which had notable songs like Money Longer, You Was Right, and P's and Q's. God damn, yo, bro came out swinging, doing the shoulder dance, all type of hair dye in his dreads. This was a different look that kind of captivated hip hop in a sense. And that bled right into the next project called The Perfect Love Tape, which I would argue solidified his sound. This one released July 31st, 2016. This peaked at number 55 on the Billboard charts, and it had notable songs like Erase Your Social, Do What I Want, and You Are Lost. Next, we gotta talk about Luv Is Rage 2. You could argue this is the peak of Uzi, and maybe he hasn't recaptured the feelings since this. I don't know, that's for y'all to debate. But this one released August 25th, 2017. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 charts, selling 135K first week album sales. Oh my God, this one, I gotta talk about my favorite songs because I argue this is when I started realizing that Lil Uzi was an absolute problem, and I felt like, yo, he's gonna be here for a long ass time. And so we gotta talk about songs like Sauce It Up and also The Way Life Goes. Man, I love that song. Neon Guts featuring Pharrell Williams, Unfazed featuring The Weeknd, of course EXO Tour Life. I think that's probably everyone's favorite song, but some of the sleepers on this project that I felt no one ever really talked about and I just always really loved was Dark Queen and No Sleep League. The funniest part about that song is like, what is he actually saying on the hook of this song? I have no idea. Like he said, have a blessed day, I will read about the morning. Like, can somebody translate that shit? It sounded like Morse code mixed with aura, mixed with swag. Like at this point, Uzi could do whatever he wanted. He had the world in the palm of his hands, real talk. But next, we gotta talk about his most, I'd say, controversial project because he went went through quite a delay and a bit of a pause, man, just to get to this new project that dropped at the time called Eternal Atake.
I didn't have, the team I have today. Everything got leaked and everything. The artistry I was trying to like be on, I'm like, I don't give a trying to push out a narrative that I really didn't care. That wasn't the case. Because like that was like some good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Got it, and I was like if I knew what I knew now, I would just put the whole leak album out anyway.
Right.
Instead of like canceling it and then like I need to make a whole new album.
I'd say this one got a lot of mixed reviews. It came out March 6, 2020. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts, selling 288K first week album sales. God damn. Some of my favorite songs on this project were I'm Sorry, Celebration Station, Bigger Than Life, Prices, Urgency featuring Sid, Venetia. And of course, you gotta talk about Future Shuffle, right? I mean, Uzi gonna keep him a hit. He gonna have people dancing, getting up out of the seat. He got the old ladies throwing all type of canes at him on stage. Like, I've seen some wild stuff from fans at Uzi shows. And so Eternal Atake was no different in terms of how Uzi is captivating his audience. Next, we gotta talk about the Pink Tape, which again, saw him continuing his commercial success. This one dropped June 30th, 2023. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard chart, selling 167K first week album sales. Some of my favorite songs on this album are the intro, Flooded the Face, Times 2. Of course, Just Wanna Rock. I mean, that's the smash, right? I think everybody and their mama and grandmother loves that song. But some of the joints that people didn't really talk about for me were like Died and Came Back, and also Mama, I'm Sorry. Really loved that joint. It was almost like a Chief Keef homage track in terms of what he was doing on that record. But of course, we gotta talk about I almost don't even want to do it to Uzi because, I'm gonna be respectful. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. I'll be respectful.
I'm trying to be respectful.
Eternal Atake, also known as Eternal Atake 2, came out November 1st, 2024. It debuted at #3, so it did break his #1 album's streak. This one sold 59K first week sales, which is not great for Uzi. It damn near shows Uzi on a decline, and I feel like this was the license to really get people to say Uzi is washed. Uzi don't have it. And if the numbers didn't do it for you, it was the music on this album, which was absolute ass in my opinion. And I'm saying this objectively. Now I will say there were some songs here and there that I like. For example, We Good. I liked Mr. Chow. I like Chill Bay. I like Conceited. I even like the song Perky Sex. Like, I'm not even a drug addict, but like something about that song was pretty dope. I mean, it made me kind of wonder what it would be like to have sex while taking Perkies, but like, which is not me, by the way. But still, that was an interesting cut. But what was he doing on songs like Meteor Man, right? Where he says she gave me head like a comb. Like, what is he talking about? Or what was that god-awful performance on Pars in the Mars? Like, can we all just band together and tell Uzi to stay off the drugs? Because bro was on all type of laughing gas substances. I didn't even know you could take laughing gas as a recreational drug, but Uzi showed us that. So not a constructive role model, I would say, but man, who the hell? We don't look for rappers to be role models per se. But this album was awful. I can genuinely say that without a shadow of a doubt. All right, now look, I don't want this to be a flat out bashing session on Uzi. So to be fair to him, we got to talk about the structural and creative hurdles that kind of have been working against Uzi this whole time. And so with that, let's talk about the crippling effect of label disputes that he's gone through. So some of you guys may already know this, but for those who don't, Uzi was signed to Generation Now, which was a record label created and maintained by DJ Drama and Don Cannon. And they put out all of Uzi's earlier music, but at some point around the Eternal Atake movement, there started to become enemies in a sense. And Uzi was making claims of being exploited and extorted damn near, and went on a full-blown anti-Generation Now campaign, essentially claiming that they are restricting him from putting out new music, which actually brings me to my next point. For those of you guys who didn't notice, Uzi seems to be out of that deal officially. As a matter of fact, if you go check the credits, Eternal Atake 2 was the last album on Generation Now / Atlantic. And so that might explain why that album sounded like such a throwaway. Look, I'm trying to shoot Uzi some bail, but if he don't come out and confirm that, I'm with the fans. We gonna run with this wash narrative. But if his goal was, I'm gonna give him music that's not my best, okay, he succeeded. He's a genius, okay? But to my next point, that had a significant impact on his output. I think a lot of times we have gotten accustomed to artists giving us consistent drops over the years, others. But then some artists go ghost and it takes them forever to release music, like Frank Ocean or Playboi Carti, even Kendrick Lamar. It takes him forever to drop music. And so I think while fans were waiting for Uzi to drop music because they already weren't getting fed the latest and greatest of Uzi's sound, I think that kind of led to the whole, I think, Uzi's washed narrative. I really think so. But then also, this moves me to my next point, because I do think at a certain point, Uzi abandoned his signature sound that really got him hot. And Jay-Z once had a famous quote where he said, "If you want the old me, go buy my old albums," which is a fire-ass quote. Like, Jay is one of the GOAT lyricists of all time. For that reason, at least that quote, and for many other reasons. But Uzi doesn't seem to believe in that saying, because a lot of fans don't really champion a lot of the newer stuff that Uzi has been putting out. Hence why Uzi's kind of pushing this vintage sound and vintage version of his with these newer drops, like he did on those newer songs like Chanel Boy and Relevant. And so who knows what else Uzi's going to sort of put out in this near future. But I do think he's sort of abandoned that older sound. And that has a lot to do with like some of the producer changes too. Like if you think about earlier music from Uzi, he was working with Molly Raw and TM88 and Don Cannon and so on and so forth, which kind of crafted that melodic Uzi signature sound that I think we all have sort of came to know. But at a certain point, especially on the Pink Tape, he was really experimenting with like metal and rock and doing it in a way that just wasn't really digestible, I feel. It didn't seem organic to the point where that melodic and just sort of artistic shift is something that fans can really get behind. And so with that being said, Uzi has also had a very inconsistent strategy when it came to singles that he's put out. We can also talk about hella leaks that have dropped. Y'all all know the leak economy is booming in music, specifically with rap music, and Uzi is no different. As a matter of fact, it's reported that in 2025 alone, at least 350 Uzi songs have leaked, which is ridiculous. If anything, we should clap it up for Uzi, because that shows that while he isn't dropping often, at least he's still recording, but somehow, some way, fans are getting a hold of these tunes, and I don't think that helped him.
Bro, leaks be so overrated. Leaks are not ready to be presented. When y'all sit there and y'all get 82 of my leaked songs, right, that I haven't put together the right way, and y'all sit here and say, "Oh, Lil Uzi is trash," y'all literally watching me get dressed in my closet. I don't got my clothes on yet. So y'all basically see me naked. So y'all is trash. Y'all not giving me a second to get dressed. So before I could dress the song up, y'all judge it. So leaks are horrible.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the leak culture. I'm one of those type of people that refuses to listen to leaks because I want to get behind the music that the artist feels confident to put out. That's what I rock. But then also, like I said before, there's a lot of key and top singles that Uzi has put out over the years that never made any albums. Like, what about that song called Shells, or Doing the Most, or Sanguine Paradise, and That's a Rack, and Red Moon? It's unfortunate, but these are some of the things that have kind of been holding Uzi back in a sense. And lastly, we gotta talk about the idea that Uzi may have lost his direction. Now, with that in mind, we gotta talk about the washed up discourse / he fell off conversation that is all throughout Twitter, Instagram, whatever platform on social you are paying attention to. Somebody somewhere is sparking a legitimate conversation to see if Uzi is washed. And actually, on Uzi's latest track called Chanel Boy, he has a lyric that says, "I ain't fall off, bitch, I'm too advanced." Now, while that might be a hard bar, do you think that's true? I mean, Uzi has virtually been out for about 10 years now. Well, going on 10 years, where it's like 9.5. Shoot, by the top of this year, we damn near at the end of 2025, so F it, 10 years. I think that's a bit hard to say. I mean, like, realistically speaking, nobody stays on top for a decade. And so naturally, there's going to be attrition. There's going to be a decline. I don't actually see anything wrong with that. If anything, I feel like this is just another narrative that fans love to cook up online, saying that their greatest rapper isn't making the best music that they once came to know and love. And so this is just their way of rage baiting the rapper to get back to making the old stuff. And so while I do think fans can tend to over dramatize and exaggerate the falling off rumors, I do think there is something to Uzi not having been able to reinvent himself in a fresh new way that gets the majority of his fan base on board. That's probably the opposite of what a contemporary of his in Playboi Carti has done, where Carti has seemed to been able to mobilize his fan base, at least the majority of them, and get them behind the new drops. He's creating new versions, recreating himself, world building, one of those things that I love talking about. And I feel like Uzi hasn't quite been able to world build effectively, and that may be hurting him. And so what's next for Uzi? Real talk. Like, what music are you looking for from Uzi? Is his signature sound a thing of the past? When he does drop his next album, which by the way might be Luv Is Rage 3, will you be quick to call it trash? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Okay, all right, let me stop. I just had to get that in. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But on a serious tip, what do you want to hear from Uzi? Because those new records that he has dropped through his own imprint called Core does feel like a blast from the past, which to me might actually work for Uzi. I just think that if he gonna tap into that sound, he gotta really come with it. And I don't think Chanel Boy and Relevant, well, I actually really love Relevant. That beat is crazy. I actually like what he did on that song, but I don't think Chanel Boy is good enough. I think it's a glimpse into where he's going, and I do think that's promising for Uzi, but all in all, hey, we're gonna see. But what do you guys think? Are you one of those people who want the old Uzi back, or do you enjoy the new Uzi music as it is and what Uzi's been doing more recently? Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, salute to everybody for making it this far in my videos, especially this one and the last one and the one before that and the one I'm gonna release next week. You catch my drift. As always, my name is Uche. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.